Picks of the week.
For my pick is the BlackBerry Z10, and this is my overall review of the phone that I'm gonna do right now live on the air. I had the phone for 2 weeks, courtesy of AT&T. They were very gracious to send the phone over and for me to use it. And AT&T has been sending me phones for the last 2 years now, or the last year and a half. And out of all the phones that I have tested, I have to tell you, this is my favorite phone. Quite possibly, currently, my favorite phone on the market.
Really?
Yeah, I absolutely, from the moment I picked it up, and this is my first.
You tried
BlackBerry.
a lot of the latest phones from Android and Windows Phone.
Absolutely, and this is my first BlackBerry experience. I've held a BlackBerry in my hand. I've put my phone number in someone's BlackBerry, but I've never had a BlackBerry for an extended period of time, and this was phenomenal. The experience with this was phenomenal. I'm going to give you all the good stuff first, and I'll tell you some of the issues that I had. The first thing that I noticed here, and let me go here to this. The first thing that I noticed, there's no back button on this phone, John. There's no back button. So to go back, you got to swipe up and then swipe that way. So that's your back button when you're inside of an application. They have something called the BlackBerry Hub, which gives you all your updates, all your messages. So it kind of puts everything in one centralized location. Very, very nice UI, nice clean UI. To me, almost a modern feeling iOS experience with the BlackBerry 10 UI. Really, really easy to use. One of the main things that I absolutely love on this phone is the camera. They have a phenomenal camera on this thing. I'm going to take a picture.
Yeah.
I'm going to do like a little sample
I've seen
picture.
some of the sample photos that you've had, and it's just absolutely incredible, especially the macro mode that they have on the BlackBerry. I think that's probably one of the best macro modes that I've seen on any mobile phone. Even the iPhone, and the iPhone has a great camera, but the macro shots that you can take with a BlackBerry, oh my goodness, they are like the best macro shots I've ever seen.
Yeah, I actually took a bunch of photos, and I'm going to be putting it up in my review on the website when I post it. But I was so impressed by the camera. I would say it's very close to iOS.
And you're somebody that's very critical of cameras in cell phones. That you've not been impressed with hardly any camera in a cell phone.
No, I think this is a great sign for things to come because the camera is so good on this thing. The macro mode is much better than the iPhone. It does a very good job with aperture, where it's able to blur out the back and really focus in on the image. And really, some of these photos that I've taken look as good as any photo I've taken on a DSLR. Depending on the lighting and depending on the situation. I took a picture of a martini glass last night, and the photo was, just stunning. Stunning with the lighting behind it. Very impressive. Again, you have BlackBerry Messenger on this thing. Typical. The text messaging, standard. The browser is okay. The standards are here. Now, some of the things that are missing is a refined app store. The app store is nothing to really write home about. There's not much in the app store.
Then again, it is a device that's only been out for a couple months now.
A couple months, but I am still a little disappointed with the app store on this thing. A lot of standards that have been on every platform are missing, like a speed test application. Now you're going to say, okay, well, Andrew, why does it matter if a speed test application is on here? I'm using it as a representation of just standard apps that have been on nearly every platform, even on the old BlackBerry platform and on Windows Mobile, that's missing from this. So I'm hoping, over the next 6 months to a year, they really add more applications to this thing. I know that they do emulation of Android apps. I don't want to do that because that's kind of cheating. I want to have a BlackBerry experience, and I don't want to kind of bring something in that's not in here. But there are some of the top apps, like MLB at Bat 13 is on there, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Angry Birds, the weather, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. They're all there. So it's gotten better. Now I'm going to go through a list. I was given a list by Mike Wright, which also has a BlackBerry, and he's been using it for about, the same amount of time as me, but he's doing a lot of corporate stuff on this thing. And he absolutely loves the phone, but he did encounter some problems with The browser, which I also encountered, it was a little glitchy. BlackBerry Link, he's not happy about. It needs more applications for banking, like I've said, because for credit cards and brokers, a lot of people want to do online transactions, and it's kind of limited. He has had a problem with the Verizon version. I'm not too sure. I haven't had any of this on the AT&T, so I can't speak. But he's had a problem with the SIM card on his AT&T on his Verizon version, where it loses connection. So where there's a red exclamation point where the bars are, and he has to actually reset the entire thing and go back. I didn't have that problem with my phone at all. It was pretty good when it came to that. Overall, really good experience. I believe I'm going to go and buy this thing as soon as I send this one back to AT&T, because I'm coming from Android, where things are not as refined. I think they did a very good job with the operating system. Now, what does it mean for the marketplace for BlackBerry, and how is it going to affect everything else on the market? They might be a little too late in that sense, but I think for enterprise, they will be able to grab or pull some people back to BlackBerry. I'm very impressed by the phone. Very, very impressed. And battery life, I read it was awful. I did not experience that. I thought the battery life was pretty good.
And you've been using this pretty much as your primary device for the past week and a half.
Yeah, and I never had that happen with any phone that I've gotten for review. I carried it with me everywhere, but I would still default back to my Android phone, to my Nexus. I would always default back to this to do everyday things. I didn't get that feeling with this. I felt very comfortable using it as my everyday phone, and I'm actually pleasantly surprised at how much I like the phone.
Wow.
And listen, I have no reason to like BlackBerry. I've never used one. I don't have any kind of brand loyalty to it. I just really like the experience with this thing, and I'm hoping they do really well and they just continue to improve, because I think they could potentially become a very serious competitor to iOS and Android if they actually put out more devices like this. I don't know. Do you have any questions? And you are a BlackBerry guy for many years.
I was, and it just got old and stale. I mean, I think you have valid concerns about the apps, though, and I think in a way that could come with time. But at the same time, it's sort of hard to go from an iPhone or an Android that has hundreds of thousands of applications to a device that doesn't have hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
So I think people need to kind of be prepared for that, and in a way, be okay with that.
I'm curious about their plan for the next year, because this is their device, and if this device came out 2 years ago, it would be a totally different market. Totally different market. If it came out last year, quite possibly could have affected the market. I think at this point, because it is such an Android and such an iOS market, it's going to be a very, very difficult push for number 2. Maybe they could become number 3 by, kind of competing aggressively with Windows Phone.
Do you think that could change once they have the BlackBerry Q10, which is the one with the actual keyboard, the physical QWERTY keyboard on it?
Oh, you brought up something interesting. The keyboard on this thing.
Yeah, it's got that flick thing on it to predict words and stuff.
It does a word prediction, and it does a very good job at the word prediction. It took me a little bit of time to get used to the keyboard because I was coming from SwiftKey on the Android side, but after about a week of using it, it was flawless and very, very fast to type. I didn't experience any problems with the soft keyboard, which I'm going to pull up now. Let's go to a text message. I'm going to message John right now. Is there anything here that I should not? Okay, that I should not display on this. So here's my conversation with you, and your last name is now out. Doesn't matter at this point. So here's the keyboard. Really nice, really slick, and very good to use. I mean, it's a standard keyboard, nothing crazy about it. But
now, can you type pretty quickly on that?
I can.
How fast can you type on that compared to an iPhone?
Okay, so I'm going to hold it up, and I'm going to type. So So I butchered this. Okay, when I was typing, I wrote
You
"Hello, how
butcher
are you?"
everything you
And it
type,
was just
though.
it was just a jumbled up mess, and it was able to predict it so accurately that it knew I was saying "Hello, how are you?"
I think that is one of the things that we need to have in phones now, is because in a way, I think prediction is key when you're typing, because it's not necessarily always easy to type accurately on a touch screen device like that.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
it's able to predict really accurately. I would like to know if it actually learns your typing style. I believe it does. And that's something that SwiftKey does really well on Android, where it's able to predict what you're going to write, and it learns from your emails, from your text messages, from your Facebook and your Twitter. It's able to learn your writing style, so it kind of predicts what word you're going for. But overall, very happy with this phone. Probably the only phone that I've really been able to gush over like this. Very refreshing to see, and really excited to see what they do with this. With the next generation of BlackBerry devices. Yeah, the Q10 is going to be coming out, and that's going to have an actual keyboard on it. And I wonder how that's going to be perceived, because there are still people out there that hate the soft touch keyboards.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, and I'm curious how they are going to be able to use that, because remember, we're a couple of years disconnected from those days where people were getting those physical keyboards, the trios and the cues, the curves. I mean, we're totally disconnected from that. So, very, very interested to see it. But my opinion, I would recommend it. I would recommend it. The only thing that would hold me, that would kind of prevent me from recommending it to everybody, is the lack of apps. If you're an app person and you want thousands of apps and you want every new app, this is not for you. But if you don't care about the apps, and you're using it as your daily, everyday communication device, this is a really good phone, and I would definitely recommend it. And that is my review of the BlackBerry Z10. Again, I want to thank AT&T for sending this over. I'm going to be sending this back to them on Monday, and most probably purchasing one of these,
Cool.
and possibly on AT&T, because I'm not. The service, for whatever reason, I'm getting recently is much better on AT&T than on Verizon in my house.